From County College of Morris, this is CCM All Access.
Hello, and welcome to CCM All Access, the show that brings you news and information from the County College of Morris. I'm Daniil Barkov, and today we will be speaking with Sheri Ventura, who is the coordinator of virtual campus services here at CCM. Welcome. Thank you so much for coming on to the show.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
So, how have you been in the past couple months with everything going on?
Very busy. As you can imagine, being virtual campus, our life kind of imploded like everybody else's in March as we got ready to just help all the students at CCM navigate their new online world, so to speak. So pretty busy.
Yeah. I can imagine it's definitely been a little hectic. But on that topic, so I hear the term distance learning a lot. Can you possibly go into what it means?
Sure. Distance learning is just another means of providing coursework, course material to students. At CCM, traditionally, we had three different types of distance learning classes: online, hybrid, and virtual campus courses. With the pandemic and our change to remote learning, that's added yet another form of distance learning. So they all provide service courses in different ways. Online being completely online. Hybrid is a combination of line and scheduled face-to-face time where you actually would come to campus. So this fall, for example, hybrid is a lot of our like lab classes, engineering classes, more the hands-on that students really need to get into the classroom for. And then remote for the fall is actually just that. It's via Zoom, via WebEx, Shindig, some of our web conferencing tools that we have during a specific scheduled time. So that's really what distance learning is right now at CCM.
Okay, and so how has your office had to, I imagine there's been a lot of changes in the past couple of months with everything going on. So can you tell us how you've had to adapt with everything, basically with the new changes?
Sure. Really for us, how we did things didn't change. It's just the number of how we're doing things now. In the past, we were supporting students who were taking online hybrid virtual campus courses. Now we're supporting everyone because everyone who's taking a course at CCM is doing some type of distance learning now. So that involved just really volume, getting everybody started at the beginning of the term, sending out emails, making sure everyone knows how to get to the tools, which I know we're going to talk about later. But it really changed also in just being that person that could answer a question. Students didn't know what they didn't know. And then all of a sudden they found themselves faced with this whole idea of, I have to take an online class and that's not for me. I never wanted to. So really trying to address their needs as they came up, the needs of our students as they came up.
So have you noticed their students having a lot of challenges with the how they've had to adapt to the new changes?
Um, well, I have to say, students are tech savvy.
Mm-hmm.
More and more are tech savvy, which definitely, if this was, 5, even 10 years ago, would have been a really big challenge. I think, some of the challenges that they have are just having to learn some new technology, having professors use it in different ways. I think causes a little bit of confusion sometimes. And just kind of learning the lingo and how we do things, making sure that as they face challenges, they know where to go to get help. So that I think has probably been one of the biggest things that we've had to deal with.
Okay, can you please go a little bit into detail how your department, I guess, communicates with the student body?
Sure. So in the beginning of the semester, all students get notification in their email from the virtual campus, and it's basic information, how to get started, tools available, and how to reach us. Ways we encourage you to reach us really are through email, or now we're using Microsoft Teams quite a bit too. And all students have access to Teams as part of the Office 365 package that through Microsoft that we have. They can call the phone number for the virtual campus. I am set up from remotely to be able to contact students and talk to them on the phone as well. And our hours have certainly changed and fluctuated too. We're not on campus. We are part of those people that are, always checking our emails and crazy times, crazy hours, to make sure that we can get back to students as quickly as possible.
Now, with the changes that have happened, I'm assuming that it's definitely become a lot more smoother and easier for both students and faculty to, I guess, communicate with each other, and just
Mhm.
the entire system's definitely become a lot more smooth. Am I correct?
Yes, they have. Yeah, in the beginning, this happened so fast.
Hmm.
And so, we were fortunate that because the virtual campus was looking to grow, we had some of the tools in place already. So that when it came time, instead of having the luxury of testing ways that we were going to do things, we just kind of had to jump in.
Hmm.
So, there was some bumps along the way in the beginning, but I think from a student perspective, that kind of more happened behind the scenes. And
Hmm.
again, we've always prided ourselves on being available to provide assistance, answer questions, or point students in the right direction. We collaborate with a lot of departments on campus. I work very, very closely with the Solution Center, with Task Plus. Those are two that I think, from a student perspective, are the ones everyone's most familiar with. So we kind of communicate each other, and if one can't fix something, the other one can. And then also with faculty, we work very closely with our faculty support center as well, the Center for Teaching and Learning. Our offices actually are together in Sheffield Hall. But now that we're all remote, we kind of just took how we were in the office and we do it from home. So we collaborate via Teams all the time. We love that as a way to be able to quickly get in touch with one another.
So, with this becoming, I guess, a new norm as of like for now for this semester, are there any, I guess, how are there any recommendations? How does a student prepare for online classes, I guess?
Sure. So we have a lot of tools on our website, which we're going to talk about in a few minutes. But really, the biggest thing is, to navigate through the website and to see what's available to you. But I think the thing I want to emphasize most with distance learning as a whole is there's always been misconceptions about it. And whether you've chosen to be distance learning now or you've had to because of the pandemic, it's important to just note it's not easier. Time management is the biggest key to being successful as a distance learning student. We can't encourage you enough that if you, keep a calendar, like now, if you were going to come to campus 3 times a week, you would know you had to be at campus these 3 times a week at a specific time. We encourage you schedule that time just like you would for your face-to-face, for your online class. Designate work time. Make sure your family members, your friends, your roommates, whomever you may be living with, are aware that this is time that's like I'm in school. I'm just not available. Paying attention to the syllabus. Syllabus has never been more important than it is in an online class. Deadlines creep up on you. You don't have someone standing in front of you reminding you, don't forget next Tuesday to do XYZ. It's on you to remember that that's coming up. So we really, pay attention to your syllabus. Make sure you have a calendar, whatever calendar it is. That's something else. People don't have calendars on the wall anymore. Pick up your cell phone. It's in everybody's hand a lot of time during the day. Put those things into your calendar. But it's important to know that, for the formula is if you're taking a 3 credit class, you should expect to take at least a minimum of 9 to 10 hours per week on that class. So if you're taking 5 classes right now that are all online, that's about 45 hours a week. That's like a full-time job. So that's really the formula that we encourage. So from a offering advice standpoint, I think time management is probably one of the biggest. And secondly, ask for help and communicate. If you're having an issue with something that's going on in your course, communicate that to your professor. Let them know that if you're having problems finding something perhaps within the Blackboard, the context of the Blackboard shell. If your deadline is come and gone and you didn't realize it, make sure that they know that, things happen. And in this day and age now, I think one of the biggest things for the pandemic is everybody's online at the same time. So, our bandwidth and networks have never been as overloaded as they are right now. So, often I think one of the biggest anxieties for some of our students is they could be taking an online test and their internet drops. That used to happen once in a while. That's a lot more frequent now. just, based on what's going on in our world. So, those are some things we encourage you to think about, but certainly from a success standpoint, I can't emphasize enough a calendar and scheduling time just like you would if you were on campus.
So and I agree with you that time management is definitely most likely the biggest issue. I know I personally had some issues with that, but
Sure.
are there any other challenges that you've seen students have to overcome, and then some tips that you have, I guess, for improving their ability to, I guess, focus on classes with everything being virtual?
You know, I think, just the technology aspect of it, we do have a lot of non-traditional students, which we refer to, people that aren't used to the technology. So I think from a technology standpoint, I think students find that sometimes to be a little bit intimidating, like I said, and I think I'm guilty of this too. Students are much more tech savvy, but sometimes I assume they're a little more tech savvy than maybe they really are. And that really holds true for, like I said, some of our non-traditional. So, what we'll do, and this is one of the things that's been um, I've been surprised by and happy about, is that, like, I'll schedule a WebEx with a student now, and they're at their home, I'm in my home, and it's like, okay, share your screen, show me what you're having a question about, how to navigate, and we'll have a conversation. We get to see each other, which is really awesome, because I think we're all missing that connection right now, and be able to say, okay, just no, click here, oh, and they're like, oh, that's all I had to do. So I think that's been something that's been a little bit overwhelming for people. It's like I said, there's when students signed up to take an online class, for the most part, it was something they chose to do before. Now, because of the world we're in, it's not necessarily something, you don't get that choice like you had before. So it's being aware of that, and just, doing our best to answer questions that they come up.
So, due to the fact with, because you previously said that teachers are a lot more accessible now, do you
Hmm.
do you think that I mean, I personally do believe that it makes it a lot easier for students to reach out to their teachers, but do you see, I guess, virtual learning continuing on after everything, I guess, the pandemic calms down more?
I do. I think it's going to continue. I think there's people that are going to be thrilled that they don't have to do it anymore. I think I think you're going to have both. I think you're going to have some who just say, "Oh, thank goodness we can go back in the classroom and do, how we've always done things." But then there are people who are embracing. It's been fun for us to see some of our faculty at CCM just be like embracing the technology, because they had to, and excited about learning it, and coming. We have a lot of faculty webinars and such that we've been doing, just to make sure that they're up to speed, and on what's available and how to use it. So, I think there's going to be a greater demand. I think what we've all learned, and is how many jobs can be done remotely successfully, how quickly you could get your support systems up to speed, like we had to do at CCM. And there's nobody there. I mean, we had to all go remote with everything that we did. So I think people are going to be like, well, why do we have to go back to the way we were? I think some students are really going to expect that we're going to continue this way too. So there's going to be a balance. I mean, there's certainly things that need to happen in the classroom. And
Yes.
I understand that as the distance learning person. I get that. There's just some things that just don't work. But there's a lot that do. And it's been nice to see how that's come to be.
Mhm. So before we do take our break, I do have one more thing that I do think is very
Sure.
important. Is if one more time you could distinguish the difference between online, hybrid, and remote classes, just so students know when registration comes up what they're getting themselves involved with.
Sure, it's really important. So online just means that it's online. There's no time that you have to specifically log in. As I said before, though, you need to pay attention to deadlines and due dates as your syllabus illustrates. Okay, so online is just online. Hybrid is a combination of online and face to face. So you're doing some of your work online, and you're doing hybrid, meaning that you're coming to campus also part of the time. So you'll come on Monday and Wednesday, say your class is scheduled. And again, these schedules are fluctuating a little differently as well now than they used to, because of social distancing requirements and such. And then remote is you're going to meet online via Zoom, WebEx, Teams, whatever modality the professor chooses during a specific time every day. So that's synchronous learning. That's just like going to class, but you're just doing it through the computer. So we have online, we have hybrid, and we have remote, and those can all be found also on the distance education on our virtual campus website as well. So students can see that there.
Okay, well, thank you so much. Now we're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
I'm Andrea Lucia, a graduate of County College of Morris. At CCM, I gained a high-quality education, was involved with clubs on campus, and performed university research in tissue engineering. My CCM education prepared me for ongoing success. Today, I am at Cornell University, studying engineering and performing research in cardiac tissue engineering. The professors and staff at CCM helped me to start right and finish strong.
Welcome back to CCM All Access. I'm Daniil Barkov, and we are here with Sheri Ventura. So, can you please walk us through some of the tools available in distance ed?
Absolutely. I think it's important to just note that anything you need to know can be found on our website. Keep in mind that distance ed is housed within the virtual campus. So everything that we're going to mention, you can go back and click around, and we encourage students to do that. One of the most important things that I think students should start out with is what we call our version of orientation for distance ed. And this is important now just for everybody because everybody's doing some form of distance learning. So it's called the 411 Learning at CCM. And what that is actually 9 different modules that cover the whole gamut of what it is that you need to know, from how to be successful to some of the resources and tools that we have available, some technology stuff. So what I would encourage students to do, especially if you have a question about something specific, is you can just go to these modules, and they're no more than 3 minutes long. We recognize everybody's busy, spending a lot of screen time. We wanted to make these short and concise. For example, module 1 is expectation and tips for distance education. We talked a lot about what that is in the first segment, but those are just ways that you can be successful as an online student. And in that are links to things like tools, which is a quiz that you can take yourself just to help you narrow in on what are some of your strengths, some of your weaknesses in taking an online class, or hybrid or remote. They're all really kind of one and the same right now. There's a short 3-minute video that talks about distance ed tips and tricks, and that includes what's the difference between online, remote, and hybrid classes, for example. So that's something else that's really important. Module 2 just goes into what's expected of you as a student taking a distance education course. Again, what are some of the challenges students have? What are some ways that you can plan for being successful in your course? The third module is talking about communication with your professors and classmates. And as I talked about earlier, communication is just so important, especially now, especially when we're feeling like we're doing this by ourselves. You really need to stay in touch with your classmates, stay in touch with your professor if you're having any kinds of issues, but also remembering things like computer netiquette, for example. There's a slide in there that talks about how we lose the visual cues of talking with somebody when you're typing something. So making sure that what you're saying is really what you mean and not coming across maybe in a harsh way, for example. So we talk a little bit about some of the better ways to communicate with your professors and classmates. There's a whole module on technology and computer literacy and things that you need to be able to do to successfully manage your online course. One of the biggest issues that students have is related to their browsers. So for example, Blackboard only supports Firefox and Chrome browsers. That's something that's emphasized in a lot of different places on our website, but that's a focus of module 4. If you're not sure, if you're having an issue, a technology issue in your course, one of the other tools that's available to you that we mention in here is the browser check. And right on the Blackboard login page, I don't know if everybody pays attention to the information that's below where you actually log in, but we actually have a link there that says, click here to check your browser. And one of the things that's going to do is it takes a split second, but it will save you hours of anxiety trying to figure out what's wrong, because it's going to tell you, for example, are you using an unsupported browser? Are you allowed pop-ups? Blackboard is a pop-up. And many times students have issues, and it's related to they click on something and they get the white screen with the red X in it. It's because that's a pop-up and you haven't allowed pop-ups. So that's a quick way that we encourage students to just see what's going on. The first thing, if someone says to me, I'm having a technology issue, my first question is, what browser are you using? And have you turned off your pop-ups? And many times that's as simple as that will fix an issue. So we go into some of the things that you need to do. Now, two computer hardware considerations include, we need webcams and microphones. You know, that was something that we didn't have to really worry about pre-pandemic. Now everybody needs to have a webcam or microphone. And I'll just do a little plug here, but if anyone has technology needs that aren't being met, Task Plus is who they should reach out to. And they're working with students to make sure everybody has what they need to be able to do their courses successfully. We show a module on how to log into Blackboard, the typical course experience. What you will find though is that, you know, just like in a classroom, your professor may have their Blackboard shell set up differently from one class to the next. Just like when you go in a class, some professors are using PowerPoint, some are just lecturing, some are doing group work. It's, you know, just like they have the ability to do that in their face-to-face, they also have that to do in their online, their Blackboard course as well. Some other things that we had that we kind of ramped up at the pandemic time is something called ProctorU. And there's a module in there as well about ProctorU. And ProctorU is our online proctoring service. So you're going to find some of our schools use it much more than others. But what that is it's a tool that you actually, instead of taking your test in the classroom, you're taking your test online, but there's a proctoring service that we subscribe to that that checks your integrity while you're taking the exam. So there's different things you need to do to make sure your computer is configured to let that happen. So this kind of talks about what some of those things that you have to do that if your professor is going to be using ProctorU. And again, not everybody is, but it's something that we're finding, you know, some areas are using pretty heavily more than others. The other module that we use is something called that talks about Ally, and Ally is new this fall. Blackboard did an update in the end of August, and what students noticed is the login, for example, how to log into Blackboard is different this semester. We will also now have Ally. And Ally means that when you log into your course and you click on a learning module, for example, there'll be a little arrow next to that piece of content. And when you click on that, what that does is that gives you an opportunity to download the file in an alternative format. And this is really important for students who may have accessibility issues, but perhaps it's somebody who's driving to work and they have a long commute and they want to listen to the content through with an MP3 player. This allows you to download things like in multiple different ways, HTML. Wow. Yeah, it's really cool. It's new for us. So we're also playing around. There's a whole back end side for faculty to also be able to work within their courses as well. So again, it's a new thing that just came starting in the fall semester, and you may or may not see it. There is the ability to allow it or not allow it in some aspects, but it's a great way for students to be able to just learn the way they need to learn. Hearing impaired, sight impaired, it works with Braille readers. So really pretty cool, really pretty cool. And then just the last two modules really just talk about the student support services that are available. One of the things that I want to emphasize is, you know, as I said earlier, we collaborate with departments all over campus. We work really super closely with some more than others, but we work with accessibility services. We work with student services. We work with the registrar and the bursar, and these are all services that are also available to our students. So we make sure that you have a quick and easy way that you can find how to get in touch with them. And really, and lastly, with the library, the library, things have changed with them as well and how they've done business. Some of this has always been there. It's just now the use is a whole lot higher because everybody, like I said, is one way or the other doing distance ed at CCM. So those are just some of the modules that those are the modules that we have in the 411. And again, this is, it's self-paced, it's quick, it's an easy way, it's a quick, easy resource that I would encourage everybody to, become familiar with and just know how to get to it. It's all over the webpage.
So before we wrap up, is there anything you want to say to our students?
You are not alone. I think that is probably the most important thing, especially now. I want to emphasize, we are here. We're here for you. We get your voicemail, we check our email, reach out to us through Teams, and we are there to help you navigate. Because we touch such a cross spectrum of services in the college, we know who to call. So sometimes I might not be the person that's going to be able to fix something. Oftentimes when students are having some issues within their course, if it's content related, I can't tell you what your professor means. I can log in, you can share your screen with me if we're web conferencing, and I can try to say, okay, well, this looks like they're asking you to go here. But, there's times we just have to direct you back to them. So we're more the technology side, where the faculty member, your professor, is going to address your content specific questions. But again, doesn't mean we're not there to help you and to bring you back to them or to wherever it is that you need to go. But you're not alone. Read your syllabus. Follow along step 1. Don't jump to step 3 or 4 when you log into your course. Start at the beginning. Read the welcome. Read the start here. Lots of things get answered there. And our tendency is to be hyper clickers and start clicking around on those pages. And you've missed something maybe that you're going to spend a lot of time trying to figure out because you didn't do the first step. So first steps, you're not by yourself. Stay in touch with your faculty, stay in touch with your classmates, and reach out to us at any time. We're here to help you. You're not alone.
Well, thank you so much for coming onto the show and going over all of this with us. This has been another edition of CCM All Access. From all of us on the crew, we wish you good health and thank you for watching.